The proximity alarm's shriek cut through the silence of the ISS Thunderchild's bridge. Captain Vanessa Rodriguez's grip tightened on her command chair as the massive vessel's sensors detected multiple quantum distortions forming just beyond Mars' orbit. After 15 years of service, she had hoped this day would never come. She had hoped they were alone. Multiple contacts emerging from hyperspace, Captain, Lieutenant James Way announced from his sensor station, his voice steady despite the tension. I count, 76 vessels. Largest is approximately 4 kilometers in length. Rodriguez took a deep breath, watching as the alien ships materialized on the main viewport. They were beautiful in their own way, sleek crystalline structures that seemed to capture and reflect the sun's light in impossible patterns. The Kraxan Empire had finally found Earth, just as the intelligence reports had warned they would. Status of the quantum shroud, she asked, glancing at her first officer, Commander Marcus Ibrahim. Still holding, Captain. As far as they can tell, we're just a primitive defense platform. Ibrahim's dark eyes remained fixed on his tactical display. Though I doubt that deception will hold once we engage. The Thunderchild represented humanity's greatest secret, a warship built not to match alien technology, but to subvert it entirely. While Earth publicly maintained a facade of relatively primitive spacefaring capability, deep within classified facilities, scientists had been preparing for this exact scenario for decades. All stations, battle readiness report, Rodriguez ordered, her voice carrying the weight of humanity's future. Engineering reports ready, quantum core stable at 98%, Chief Engineer Rashid Patel responded from below decks. Temporal displacement drive spooled and ready. Weapons systems online, Lieutenant Commander Sofia Volkov announced from tactical. Phase cannons charged, gravitational torpedoes armed. Point defense grid at full capacity. Communications are clear, added Ensign Yuki Tanaka. Quantum encryption protocols active. We're receiving the encrypted feed from command now. The main screen flickered to life, showing Admiral Helena Walsh's stern face. Even through the quantum-encrypted transmission, Rodriguez could see the concern in her old mentor's eyes. Captain Rodriguez, I'll be brief. The Kraxan fleet has broadcast their demands to every major population center on Earth. They're claiming sovereign rights over our solar system based on some ancient charter we've obviously never heard of. They're demanding immediate surrender and integration into their empire. Rodriguez felt her jaw tighten. And if we refuse? They've provided a demonstration of their intentions. Walsh's image was replaced by footage of Phobos, one of Mars' moons. There was a flash of light, and then, nothing. Where the moon had been, only debris remained. They've given us 6 hours to comply. The bridge fell silent. 700 colonists had been stationed on Phobos. Rodriguez pushed down her anger, forcing herself to think tactically. Orders, Admiral. The Security Council has voted. We're activating Protocol Omega. The Thunderchild is authorized to deploy all experimental systems. Show them exactly what humanity is capable of, Captain. Show them why it was a mistake to think us primitive. Understood, Admiral. We won't let Earth down. The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in momentary silence. Rodriguez stood, addressing her crew. We've trained for this. Everything we've built, every secret we've kept, it's all been for this moment. The Kraxan think they're dealing with a primitive species that will bow to their superior technology. They don't know that we've been watching them for years, studying their weaknesses, preparing countermeasures they can't imagine. She walked to the tactical station, studying the enemy fleet's formation. They don't know about the quantum inverse drive that lets us move through space in ways their sensors can't track. They don't know about our phase cannons that can bypass their shields entirely. They don't know that their supposedly unbreakable encryption was broken by Earth's quantum computers 3 years ago. Most importantly, she continued, they don't know that this ship, this primitive defense platform, carries weapons that can tear holes in the fabric of spacetime itself. The crew's determination was palpable. These weren't just Earth's finest warriors, they were scientists, engineers, and explorers who had dedicated their lives to defending humanity. "Helm, move us into position," Rodriguez ordered, returning to her command chair. "Engineering, begin power transfer to the temporal core. Tactical, plot firing solutions for their command ship. Communications, prepare to broadcast on all frequencies." "Captain," Wei called out, "they're launching fighters. Hundreds of them." Rodriguez allowed herself a small smile. "Let them come. Lieutenant Commander Volkov, target their command ship with a temporal torpedo. Full yield." "Target locked," Volkov confirmed. Temporal torpedo armed and ready. Rodriguez stood once more, her voice clear and commanding. "Send this message to the Kraxan fleet. This is Captain Vanessa Rodriguez of the ISS Thunderchild. You have murdered 700 of our people. You have threatened our world. You have mistaken our patience for weakness. That mistake ends now." She nodded to Volkov. "Fire." The temporal torpedo launched, its quantum wake barely visible against the darkness of space. The Kraxan ships didn't even attempt to evade, their sensors would be showing them a primitive chemical projectile, hardly worth noticing. The torpedo detonated. Space itself seemed to scream as a temporal rift tore open in the heart of the Kraxan command ship. The massive vessel didn't explode, instead, it simply ceased to exist, along with everything within a 1,000-kilometer radius. The remaining Kraxan ships broke formation, their perfect coordination shattered by the impossible weapon they had just witnessed. "Send them one final message," Rodriguez ordered. "Tell them they have 1 hour to leave our solar system. After that, we start firing again." The battle for Earth's survival had begun, and humanity had just revealed its first card in a game the Kraxan never knew they were playing. The Kraxan fleet's response was immediate and overwhelming. Instead of retreating, 50 ships broke formation, accelerating toward the Thunderchild with weapons charged. Their crystalline hulls pulsed with energy that lit up space like an artificial aurora. "Multiple targeting locks," Wei reported, his fingers dancing across his console. "They're charging something big, Captain. Energy readings are off the charts." Rodriguez maintained her calm demeanor, though her mind raced through tactical possibilities. "Engineering, status of the quantum mirror." "Ready on your mark," Patel's voice came through clear and confident. "But remember, we've never tested it against this many targets simultaneously." The Kraxan ships fired in perfect synchronization. Beams of coherent energy, each powerful enough to vaporize a small moon, converged on the Thunderchild's position. For a moment, the bridge crew held their breath. "Now, Mr. Patel." The quantum mirror activated. Reality seemed to fold in on itself as the massive energy beams struck what appeared to be empty space. Then, impossibly, they reversed course. The Kraxan fleet's own weapons turned against them, amplified by the quantum harmonics of the mirror. 15 enemy ships vanished in the coordinated blast. The others scattered, their perfect formation dissolving into chaos. "How long until they adapt?" Ibrahim asked, already knowing the answer. "Minutes at most," Rodriguez replied. "Time to show them our next surprise." Bridge to Dr. Katsumi. "Katsumi here," a sharp voice responded from the science lab deep within the ship. "Doctor, deploy the graviton web." In the ship's massive laboratory section, Dr. Yui Katsumi and her team activated their most ambitious project. Hundreds of microsatellites, each no larger than a coffee cup, ejected from the Thunderchild's hull. They moved with impossible precision, forming an intricate pattern in space. "Web deployment at 60%, Katsumi reported. "Quantum entanglement field stable." The remaining Kraxan ships regrouped, launching another assault. This time, they split into smaller attack groups, clearly hoping to overwhelm the Thunderchild's defenses through multiple vectors. "They're adapting faster than expected," Volkov observed. "New weapon signatures detected." Rodriguez nodded. They're learning. Good. Dr. Katsumi, status. Web deployment complete. Activating quantum field in 3, 2, 1. The microsatellites activated simultaneously. Space itself seemed to ripple as the graviton web came online. The advancing cracks in ships suddenly found themselves fighting against impossible gravitational forces that twisted and pulled in directions that shouldn't exist. Multiple cracks in ships reporting drive failures, Wei announced, unable to hide his satisfaction. Their quantum propulsion systems are completely offline. The Thunderchild science officer, Lieutenant Naomi Okoro, spoke up from her station. Captain, I'm detecting unusual readings from the disabled cracks in ships. Their hull material, it's not just crystalline. It's organic. The ships are alive. Rodriguez leaned forward in her chair. Elaborate. The crystalline structures are some form of silicon-based life. The ships aren't just vessels, they're symbiotic organisms bonded to their crews. That's why their formations were so perfect. They're all connected through some form of collective consciousness. This revelation changed everything. Rodriguez touched her command console, opening a channel to Earth Defense Command. Admiral Walsh, are you receiving our sensor data? We are, Captain. This confirms our xenobiologists' theories. The Kraxen aren't just an empire, they're a collective consciousness. Each ship is part of their extended nervous system. Which means, Rodriguez concluded, they've never encountered an enemy they couldn't instantly understand and adapt to through their shared consciousness. Until now. A new signal cut through their communication. The remaining Kraxen ships had halted their attack, and a transmission was coming through on all frequencies. The main screen showed a being unlike anything in Earth's first contact protocols. The Kraxen commander appeared to be a crystalline entity that shifted and flowed like liquid metal, its thoughts visible as pulses of light through its transparent form. Your weapons, it spoke, its voice resonating through the ship's hull itself, they should not exist. Your technology, it defies the universal constants. What are you? Rodriguez stood, facing the screen. We are human. We don't follow your rules because we wrote our own. Your collective consciousness is impressive, but it has made you predictable. While you evolved as one, we evolved through diversity, through conflict, through millions of different perspectives solving the same problems in different ways. The crystalline being pulsed with what might have been confusion. Impossible. All advanced species join the collective. It is the only path to enlightenment. No, Rodriguez countered, it's the path to stagnation. You see our individuality as primitive. We see it as our greatest strength. The Kraxen commander's form rippled violently. You will be given one final chance to join the collective. Your technology will be added to our own. Your uniqueness will serve the greater consciousness. And if we refuse? Then we will have no choice but to demonstrate our true power. What you have seen is merely a fraction of our capability. The transmission ended abruptly. Rodriguez turned to her crew. Dr. Katsumi, how long until the graviton web can be reconfigured for Phase 2? 30 minutes, minimum. But Captain, Phase 2 hasn't been tested outside simulation. The quantum cascade effect could be catastrophic. In 30 minutes, we may not have a choice. Rodriguez returned to her command chair. All hands, battle stations. They're about to show us what they've been holding back. Let's be ready to do the same. The disabled Kraxen ships began to pulse with new energy. Their crystalline hulls reformed, adapting to the graviton web's effects. In the distance, more quantum distortions appeared as reinforcements arrived. The real battle for Earth's survival was about to begin, and humanity's most closely guarded secrets were about to be revealed. The void of space erupted with light as 300 new Kraxen ships emerged from quantum space. Their crystalline hulls had changed, becoming darker, more angular, adapting to resist Earth's weapons. The collective was learning, evolving in real time. Multiple quantum signatures detected, Wei reported, his voice tense. They're different, Captain. The new ships are generating some kind of temporal interference field. Rodriguez watched as the massive fleet surrounded the Thunderchild in a perfect sphere. They had learned from their earlier mistakes, positioning themselves to neutralize the quantum mirror's reflective capabilities. Dr. Katsumi, Rodriguez called over the comm, status of Phase 2. 20 minutes, Captain. We're trying to stabilize the quantum cascade, but a violent shake interrupted her as the first Kraxan attack struck the Thunderchild's shields. We don't have 20 minutes, Ibrahim noted grimly, watching as more energy beams lanced through space. Rodriguez made a decision. Bridge to engineering. Mr. Patel, remember that modification you said would destroy the quantum drive? The one that would tear a hole in space-time? The one I specifically said we should never attempt? Patel's voice was incredulous. That's the one. How long to implement? A pause. 3 minutes. But Captain, the chances of survival are better than our chances if we do nothing. Make it happen. The bridge rocked with another impact. The Kraxan attacks were precisely coordinated, each strike testing a different frequency, searching for weaknesses in the Thunderchild's defenses. Lieutenant Commander Volkov, deploy all remaining temporal torpedoes. Maximum spread. Let's give engineering their 3 minutes. The torpedoes launched, their quantum wakes creating a beautiful but deadly light show against the backdrop of space. The Kraxan fleet split apart, their movements fluid and organic, avoiding most of the weapons. Those ships that were hit disappeared into temporal rifts, but there were always more to take their place. Captain, Okoro called out, her eyes fixed on her science station. I'm detecting massive energy buildups within the Kraxan ships. They're linking together somehow. On the main screen, the crystalline vessels began to move in impossible ways. Ships merged into larger structures, their hulls flowing like liquid metal. The sphere around the Thunderchild was becoming a single massive entity. They're creating some kind of superorganism, Okoro continued. The collective consciousness is concentrating itself into one form. Rodriguez felt a chill run down her spine. Time to completion on Patel's modifications? 90 seconds, Ibrahim reported. The merged Kraxan fleet now resembled a massive crystalline web, with the Thunderchild caught at its center. Energy began to pulse through the structure, building towards something catastrophic. Message from the Kraxan, Tanaka announced. Text only, join or end. Rodriguez stood, her voice carrying across the bridge. Send our response, humanity doesn't submit. Engineering to bridge, Patel's voice came through, breathless. Modifications complete. But Captain, you should know, this will create a quantum singularity unlike anything we've ever seen. It could destroy everything within half an AU. Including Earth? No, we're just far enough out. But there's no guarantee we'll survive the initial cascade. Rodriguez looked at her crew, seeing the determination in their eyes. They had all known this mission might be one way. Better us than Earth. Execute the modification on my mark. The crystalline superorganism began to contract, its energy readings becoming astronomical. Whatever the Kraxan were planning, it would happen in seconds. All power to forward shields, Rodriguez ordered. Reroute everything we've got, including life support. We just need to survive the first wave. The space around the Thunderchild began to distort as Patel's modifications took effect. Reality itself seemed to protest as the quantum drive pushed beyond its design limits. Kraxan structure at 90% convergence, Wei reported. Energy levels exceeding measurable scales. Rodriguez took one last look at the tactical display. The crystalline web had become almost beautiful in its complexity, a testament to what the Kraxan could have been if they hadn't chosen the path of conquest. Mr. Patel, she said quietly, light the fuse. The quantum drive exploded in a controlled cascade of impossible physics. Space itself screamed as a tear opened in reality, not the controlled rifts of their temporal torpedoes but something far more fundamental. The crystalline web began to fragment as the laws of physics broke down around it. Multiple quantum breaches detected, Okoro shouted over the sound of reality tearing itself apart. The cracks in structure is being pulled into. Words failed as they watched the massive superorganism being drawn into a wound in spacetime itself. The collective consciousness of the Kraxan Empire screamed across all frequencies as their carefully constructed unity worked against them, pulling the entire structure into the breach. Hull integrity failing, Ibrahim reported calmly. Quantum cascade approaching critical. Rodriguez gripped her command chair as the Thunderchild shuddered violently. Hold together, she whispered, both to her ship and her crew. Just hold together. The universe went white, then black, then something else entirely, a color that human eyes were never meant to see. When vision returned, the Kraxan were gone. Where their massive fleet had been, only empty space remained, marred by quantum scarring that would take centuries to heal. Damage report, Rodriguez managed, pulling herself up from where she'd fallen. Hull breaches on decks 4 through 7, Ibrahim responded, blood trickling from a cut on his forehead. Quantum drive is, well, there isn't one anymore. But we're alive. The Kraxan. Okoro worked at her damaged console. No quantum signatures detected. Their entire unified consciousness was drawn into the breach. They're gone. Rodriguez nodded slowly, feeling the weight of what they'd just done. Humanity had survived, but the price had been the effective destruction of an entire civilization. Send word to Earth, she ordered. Tell them the threat is neutralized. But recommend maintaining defensive posture. Where there's one alien empire, there will be others. As the Thunderchild limped back toward Earth, its crew couldn't help but wonder, had they just made humanity safer, or had they simply announced to the galaxy that Earth was a force to be reckoned with? Either way, there would be consequences. There always were when you changed the rules of the game. 3 weeks after the Kraxan incident, Earth was still coming to terms with its new reality. The Thunderchild, partially repaired but still bearing the scars of battle, orbited silently above the planet it had saved. But Captain Rodriguez couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. The quantum distortions are still spreading, Lieutenant Okoro reported during the morning briefing. What's strange is they're not dissipating as our models predicted. They're evolving. Rodriguez studied the sensor data. The scars in spacetime left by their desperate gambit had indeed changed, forming patterns that seemed almost deliberate. Could some of the Kraxan consciousness have survived? Before Okoro could answer, alarms blared throughout the ship. Security breach in engineering, Wei announced. Multiple containment failures in the quantum labs. Then, the impossible happened. The walls of the briefing room began to crystallize, spreading like frost across metal. Rodriguez hit the ship-wide comm, all hands, emergency protocols. We have a Kraxan incursion. The truth became horrifyingly clear. The Kraxan hadn't been destroyed, they had evolved. The quantum cascade had shattered their physical form but scattered their consciousness across spacetime itself. Now they were rebuilding, using the Thunderchild's own systems as a template. They're in our computers, Patel's voice came through, strained. The quantum entanglement network, they're using it to reform their collective. We didn't destroy them, we gave them a new way to exist. Humanity's answer. In the final hours, as crystalline growth spread throughout Earth's defense systems, humanity faced its greatest test. The Kraxan consciousness had transcended physical form, becoming something that existed in the quantum realm itself. Every computer, every quantum device, became a potential foothold for their return. But humanity's greatest strength had always been its ability to adapt, to think differently. Dr. Katsumi, working with a global team of scientists, realized the truth. The Kraxan hadn't come to destroy Earth, they had come searching for exactly this evolution. Their rigid, crystalline form had been holding them back. "They're not attacking us," Katsumi explained to the assembled world leaders. "They're trying to communicate. Their collective consciousness is attempting to merge with our technology, but not to control it, to transcend it." Rodriguez made the final decision. Instead of fighting the transformation, the Thunderchild systems were opened fully to the cracks in consciousness. As the crystalline pattern spread, they didn't destroy, they enhanced. The ship's capabilities grew exponentially as human ingenuity merged with cracks in unity. The result was something entirely new. The cracks in consciousness, freed from its rigid physical form, learned the value of individual thought from humanity. In return, they shared their understanding of the quantum realm, elevating human technology beyond anything previously imagined. The Thunderchild became the first of a new kind of vessel, not quite human, not quite Kraxan, but a perfect synthesis of both. Its crystalline enhanced hull could now shape itself at will, its quantum systems operated on principles that defied conventional physics, and its crew worked in perfect harmony with the cracks in consciousness that now existed as part of the ship itself. As the transformed Thunderchild took its first flight with its hybrid crew, Captain Rodriguez realized that they had achieved something far greater than victory in battle. They had proven that humanity's greatest strength wasn't its weapons or technology, but its ability to turn enemies into allies, to find understanding where others saw only conflict. "Send a message to all Earth stations," Rodriguez ordered, watching as her ship's crystalline hull sparkled with new possibilities. "Tell them the war is over. But something far more interesting has begun." The stars seemed brighter now, as humanity and the cracks in consciousness prepared to explore them together. They had learned that true power didn't come from domination or unity alone, but from the perfect balance between individual thought and collective purpose. The Thunderchild streaked across the solar system, leaving a trail of quantum light in its wake. It was no longer just a warship, it was a beacon of hope, a testament to the fact that even in the darkest moments, humanity could find a way not just to survive, but to evolve. And somewhere in the quantum realm, the consciousness that had once been the Kraxan Empire pulsed with new understanding. They had come seeking to conquer, only to find something far more valuable, a way to grow beyond their own limitations. The galaxy would never be the same. But then again, neither would humanity. End of story.